What's up, watch people? Skip it watching SRQ, back with my full review of the Seiko SRPB93K1. I've been wearing it for a couple of weeks since I did the unboxing video, and I've got my thoughts together and ready to give you the details. But first, let's do a wristwatch check. Today I'm wearing my new Bulova Moonview in the black dial, black bezel, black bracelet. So far I'm really enjoying it, and I'm sure I'll be reviewing it soon. I really love the sweeping seconds hand that the Accutron movement brings to us without having to pay for spring drive. So yeah, in any case, so this is the Seiko SRPB93K1. It is part of the Seiko Sports line. The Seiko 5 line was introduced back in 1963 as a dressy everyday watch. That lives on today in watches like this guy. This is my Seiko SKK 355. It'll be making a reappearance during our loom check. The Seiko 5s had 5 key properties. They are automatic wind. They have a day-date complication in a single window. They offer water resistance and a recessed crown at 4 o'clock. And have a durable case and bracelet, although I have the bracelet off of this and I'm wearing it on leather. The Seiko 5 Sports line came along in 1968 and improved durability and added some features for a more active lifestyle, and they did start to branch out from some of those initial key properties. But let's dig into this sporty dive style watch. So first, some physical statistics. I measured and or confirmed the measurements of this watch using a plastic caliper. If you're interested in where to find these, let me know. I can give you a link. I see a lot of people using the metal ones and then worrying about scratching things. I find that this just eliminates that need. So in any case, the physical stats. We have a 43 millimeter case without the crown. If you include the crown, we measure at 46.5 millimeters. We have a thickness of 12.7 millimeters and a lug-to-lug distance of 49 millimeters. It can accept a strap or bracelet of 22 millimeters. It features Seiko's usual Hardlex crystal and has 100 meters of water resistance. Now, of course, the thing that drew us all to this watch in the first place was that brilliant green sunburst dial. It is just a stunner. It really does change a lot in varying lighting conditions. So a lot of times it'll look nearly black. But if you get out into direct sun, you will find these brilliant green bands will form. They're somewhat hard to photograph. Anytime you see a single band in a photograph, it's typically going to double up because of the 2 eyes that you have in your head. A softer lighting, indoors or more diffused lighting that's still directional will often give a wider band and really show off the green more. So yeah, look forward to showing you the real world shots that will be coming up at the end of the video. As to the dial text at 12 o'clock will have the Applied Seiko logo or the Applied Seiko name. Below that, the Applied Seiko logo. We have printed in red below that, Sports, for the Seiko 5 Sports line. At 6 o'clock, you have the automatic word. It also says that the watch has 23 joules and 100 meters of water resistance. The chapter ring has some really teeny tiny little text down there that was really hard to see. It calls out the 4R35 movement and has some other numbers, 0174P17, I believe. It was really hard to see. I had some super magnification going on and still found it difficult to read. If anyone knows what 0174P17 means, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. The handset on this guy is a polished gold sword type handset. I was initially a little bit worried about the gold and thought that it should just be all silver and I would like it better. But I found with working with it and wearing it that the gold adds a sense of warmth. and really accentuates the green and keeps it from looking sterile. The hour and minute hands have loom on the outer ends and are skeletonized near the center. The second hand is a simple needle without loom or any kind of embellishment. So it will be difficult to read the seconds, if not impossible to read the seconds in the dark, which again we'll see during the loom test. The hour markers have the usual triangle at 12 o'clock. It has rectangles at 3, 6, and 9, and circles for the other markers. The 3 o'clock marker has been reduced in size and still has loom, but that makes room for the date display. I really like the way that they did that because it really gives a balance to the dial. It's very symmetrical, so you get that complication without having it sticking out like a sore thumb or losing the loom. The hour markers are also outlined in gold. Between the polished gold hands and the gold surround around the loom marks at the hours, it means that you can really see this guy very nicely in a lot of lighting conditions. Again, somewhat difficult to photograph. I did my best. Hope that you can see. But whenever you catch hard glare off the crystal, the polished markers and hands really reflect even more and allow you to still see the time and so forth. I have found that I miss that when I see watches like my Turtle that don't have that. So it's simply white surrounded by the white loom. And I've really grown to appreciate it both on this guy and on my Monster, which has a similar effect that when you catch that reflection, you can still see the time. So back to the dial here. The green dial is surrounded by a metallic silver surround, the chapter ring, which has a fine circular graining that provides its own kind of sunburst effect. The minute markers are in black. The remote separating the dial from the crystal is also a brushed silver metal. It really gives the dial a sense of depth and keeps us from turning into just a mass of green, and gives it a nice look. I really enjoy it. The bezel has a matte finish dark green insert with just the 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 markers with the classic triangle at the top. There is no loom pip. Another thing that you would see on things like the Turtle, that loom pip up there gives you legibility in the dark. So if you're timing something in the dark, you'll be able to see it. This guy, not so much. That really is probably just a cost-saving measure so that we don't have to pay more for this guy. The edge of the bezel is finished with a single kind of hobnail patterned edge. I found it very easy to grip and easy to turn. It is a 120 click bezel that is pretty smooth and easy to turn, a little bit harder with gloves. And I find that it's not quite as satisfying as you would see on some of the other higher end Seiko divers. So if I bring it in closer to my microphone, and I will compare it to my Turtle. So if I get it in close here, hoping you can hear the bezel. It's not quite as satisfying as it would be on something towards the higher end. So if we bring it in close here, a much louder and more satisfying click for sure. Now, don't get me wrong here. This is not a super tinny sounding bezel. If you've ever seen an Invicta Pro diver, it sounds like there's some kind of horrible pop metal awfulness inside, just tinning tick, 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 tick away inside. No, this sounds really good. And so let's get our line back up again. The case on this watch is very utilitarian in shape. It has straight sides. There are no crown guards. There is no bezel guard to protrude and and make itself visually known when you're just looking at the face. The only thing you see from the front are the polished lugs sticking out beyond the dial. The sides, as I said, are very straight and given a high polish finish. I love the fact that they have included drilled lugs here, which makes changing straps and bracelets really easy to do. I would be perfectly happy if every manufacturer drilled every lug ever made, because I do love to change straps. The crown is just a simple rectangular crown. It is unsigned. And again, these are just some simple cost-saving measures to keep this thing affordable. The crown is not a screw-down crown, which we'll take a closer look at when we talk about the movement. The case back, if we open up our bracelet, so the case back has a polished ring and a display back. The back is also laser engraved with a number of things that tell us about features and so forth on this guy. Of course, it's engraved with Seiko and water-resistant 10 bar. It tells us that the case is stainless steel. The serial number will be found there. It mentions that this is a 4R35 movement, followed by O2DO. A couple of other markings, I don't know what they mean, but all nicely engraved. And then we get a nice shot of the movement. The movement here is a 4R35B movement, which is a 23 jewel automatic hacking and hand widening movement with approximately a 41-hour power reserve. There's no decoration really of any kind. Just a simple movement. It's always nice to be able to look in and take a look at the mechanics. I really appreciate that about the watches that aren't given super water resistance, where you tend not to see display backs. But yeah, the 4R35 movement is known to be reliable and durable. The same class of movement that you see in the Turtles, although that has a 4R36, which adds a day display. The winding on this, when we turn the crown, is very smooth. Again, let's see if I can get it in, you can hear it. Yeah, maybe not. But in any case, it's a very smooth winding action. Again, it's not screw down, so you just wind it in position that you'd normally wear it. When you pop out the movement, or pop out the crown, I should say, the first position will allow you to change the day, like so. And then when you pop out to the second position, the second hands will hack, and you will be able to set the time, which I'm going to move this around into a nice pretty 10-10 position. Why wouldn't I? So yeah, and I found that it sets really smoothly. I have certain watches where there's a bit of play when you set the crown, and the time will jump a tiny little bit. I have not found that to be the case here. The spec for the 4R35B is plus 45 to minus 35 seconds per day, which I think Seiko does just to make sure that you don't start sending it back because the time is slightly off, unless it's completely ridiculous. I don't think anyone would be really thrilled with anywhere near plus 45 or minus 35. I have found that this guy is running at about plus 6 seconds per day. It's really hard to complain about that. I'm sure somebody out there would start regulating and adjusting to try and get themselves to dead zero. I will not be doing that. I find that plus 6 is just a dream. I'm glad it's plus 6 and not minus. It's always better for a fast watch to run fast because you can hack yourself back to accurate time. I have my Turtle. Initially was running pretty good, and over time, suddenly it's running about minus 15 a day, which is a real pain. I end up not wearing it as much because I'll just let it wind down and get myself back to accurate time when I simply set it after winding it again. But this guy's being a champ, running better than my Turtle. So let's take a look at the bracelet. The bracelet is an oyster style bracelet. So let's see here, get that guy closed up again. So it's an oyster style bracelet with hollow links. It also has hollow end links, which you may have noticed when we were looking at the movement. The center links have a polished section at the edges of that center link. I've seen this before on other Seiko 5 bracelets. My preference would have been that they left that out and simply left it brushed completely. It doesn't need that little bit of reflection and adds a visual complexity that we really don't need on, especially on a watch with so much, with the green showing and just the dial being the center point of this. Let's keep the bracelet simple. We have a stamped fold-over clasp with a signed safety catch. So it's signed Seiko here. And as I said, it's stamped. This is not a milled clasp or anything like that. I wouldn't expect anything else at this price point. And I found it to be perfectly secure. There is no dive extension. This is not a dive watch, but a dive style watch. So no divers extension here. I was really happy to see that the removable links also had some cost-saving measures, which are simple friction pins for holding the links together. I do my own bracelet sizing and so forth, and I'm really glad to see friction pins most of the time. I have my Monsters bracelet that you saw earlier that uses the pin and collar system. I'm still struggling with it, and I've had it for months. And I refuse to give up and go to my watch guy and have him do it for me. But I found that I was able to size this really easily with a simple spring bar tool, pushed out the pin, removed the links, pushed them back in and seated them without needing any special tools. And it was just really easy to get done. We also have a decent number of micro adjust holes here to get a precise fit. So yeah, I found that I've really enjoyed wearing it. Let's take a look at a lume test here, and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, gang, the lume test. So here we are with our contenders, the Seiko 5 dress-oriented watch on the left, the ever-popular Seiko Turtle on the right, and the subject of our examination here, the green Seiko 5 Sports, in the middle. So I'm going to kill the lights, and I'm going to charge these guys up, and we will take a look at the lume. And let's charge these guys up with our UV flashlight, and we're off to the races. Of course, the turtle on the right is going to last longer and glow brighter than the two Seiko 5s do. The Seiko dive watches are known to have very thickly applied lume, but the Seiko 5s are doing just fine side by side. They don't have as large a lume area, and I don't think it's as thickly applied. The lume on those two will, on the Seiko 5s I should say, will fade faster than the Turtle. But I find the Seiko 5s have acceptable lume, of course. Easy to see at night. And of course, if your eyes are night adjusted, if you're wearing a watch to bed and you look down in the middle of the night to check the time, you'll be able to read any of them through the night. So, lume test complete, and we're back in the studio. This is the watch on my 7 3/4 or 20 centimeter wrist. I find that it wears quite nicely. The 12.7 millimeter thickness is thin enough to slip under a cuff of a shirt at work for me. I found the bracelet to be very comfortable, not super rattly, although you can force it if you really want to. And so yeah, I found again the micro adjust is easy to adjust with a simple paper clip at work, for example. If I find that my wrist is swelling, I can jump in there. We can't expect a ratcheting clasp or anything like that at this price point. But yeah, in the green. So, get this off my wrist real quick. So if the green that drew you here isn't really doing it for you, it is available in a variety of color variants. There is a silver dial variant if you want something more basic. along with a black dial. There's also a blue dial that is also very, very striking with the blue sunburst. There's a black dial with gold accents if you want something a little bit two-tony looking. There's a rose gold case with a brown dial and a rubber strap. That's when I gave up looking at variants for this. There's a bunch of them out there. I think this is probably going to be an ongoing significant line for Seiko. And who knows if we'll see even more color variants. But yeah, to wrap up with my closing thoughts here, the price of this guy at time of publication is between $150 and $200 depending on your retailer. The cheaper ones are coming from some of the gray market retailers out there. The better known retailers are getting $190, $200. I still consider it a good value though. For such a well-made piece at this price, I really can't complain. The movement is good, keeping beautiful time at +6 seconds. And it's a decent design for the price and a decent finishing. We hear a lot about talk of finishing as if a bunch of elves are sitting in a cabin somewhere polishing away or in a Swiss mountain workshop. Let's face it, most of this is probably machine driven, and that's fine. That keeps these guys affordable, and I'm glad for it because not everyone wants to spend big money like a Hulk on this kind of a colorway. I could never imagine putting $8,000, $10,000 into a Rolex Hulk in green. It's just too hard to be versatile with that. But in a $200 Seiko 5, I'll just enjoy the color. Now and again, and if it sits in my watch box for a while without being worn, no big deal. It was really hard to wear the green for so many days as I prepped for this because, it is a bit much sometimes. But I do love the drilled lugs. I'm so glad to see that, as I said earlier. I change watch straps like decent people change underwear frequently. So it's not unusual for me to wear a watch for a day and pop it off of a bracelet and put it onto a NATO and then go over to leather. I've really been enjoying wearing my turtle on leather during the winter when I'm not going to mess it up with sweating my brains out during the summer. But in any case, those are my thoughts. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments down below. Stick around. We've got a few more real-world shots to show at the very end, along with a picture from my very favorite Instagram hashtag, which is hashtag Seiko Catterday. So you'll meet Walter with our Seiko 5 Sports here. In any case, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll hope to see you all soon. Peace out.